Hello everybody and welcome. This is NBL Overtime, which I assume, considering you're watching us, you already know. You can always get involved, hashtag NBL Overtime, and we are jam-packed. The season might be done, as in the games, but the almost funner season is here. NBL free agency about to fire on up. Chris Prograss, the CEO of the Sydney Kings, is going to jump on and have a chat to us as well. Homicide in the house. How you doing, man?
What's happening, man?
I'm good. I'm psyched.
I'm excited to talk to CEO of the Sydney Kings.
Yes. You want a job? Lead scout, Homicide Williams. Liam's standing right here as well, man. How you doing?
What's going on, man?
I'm good. I'm pumped. I'm psyched. And let's get straight into it because the free agency list has been announced and has been distributed to the public in the last sort of 24 or so hours. And of course, free agency opens on Friday. There are some notables as we see there. Liam Santamaria, what is and who is the most interesting person on that list for you?
Ooh, who's the most interesting?
Wow.
Jeez, that's
three. Off the rip, there's three.
Who you got?
I mean, Will McDowell White for me is the most interesting. Who do I want to talk about?
Yeah.
We've talked about Will McDowell.
Yeah.
Ad nauseum.
Jeez, you're really getting there. Mate, it's a simple question.
Luke Travers.
Luke Travers, let's do it.
Luke Travers. Perth kid.
Yeah.
Born and raised. Wildcat development player, has come through the system, drafted, has his rights owned by the Cavaliers. But now has the opportunity to test free agency. Now, a report from Lockie Reed last night saying, look, it's done and it's going to be announced in a couple of days back at Perth. But, you know, I find him an interesting case heading into free agency because, I don't know, maybe it is time for him to sort of spread his wings. I flagged this a couple of weeks back to look at maybe a move somewhere else, a change of scenery, a chance to kind of be in a different system with a different coach, with some different teammates and, you know, see what he could do. Or is he going to make the decision to say, no, I'm sticking here with John Riley. The Wildcats have been awesome for me and I can grow organically within this system. I'm fascinated to see how that plays out.
I think the most interesting person on that list is Keanu Pinda, to see where he goes. Because right now he's in Spain having a really good go. He just gave Real Madrid a double-double. Sorry, Real Madrid or FC Barcelona?
Yeah,
Real Madrid or FC Barcelona? One or the other. But he killed a superpower team. And when you do things like that, it's going to open up massive doors. It's huge doors open. Listen, Dan Moldovan is on fire. I don't think he's ever been this on fire in 1 year than he is right now. All his players are killing everywhere. So I was just on Twitter just going through the feed and I was like, oh yeah. So I think for me, he's the biggest guy right now. Xavier Cooks is gone, he's the next guy. Him and Mitch Creek. Mitch Creek is with the Phoenix. He is a big get for any team right now.
So I'm with you. Luke Travers by far the most intriguing name because I don't believe Keanu Pinda will be in the league. I just don't think. I think he's gone over to Europe. He's doing what he did. You alluded to it. He continues to play well. He was outstanding last year. And I think that there's going to be greater cash for him elsewhere. And I'm not saying it's simply purely a cash decision, but I think that this is his time. We were on a game. Liam asked him about taking the bag at half-time, if you recall that.
And the price went up since
then. The price went way up. So the most intriguing for me is Luke Travers, only because I think he will definitely be in the league. I don't think Keanu Pinda will be. And I like what Luke Travers has done and his management. Who is Travers'
What has he
manager?
done?
Moldovan.
Well, he is like, you know what? He's what? I've got this great amount of leverage. And it's time to have a look and build and get my price up. And I think he'll stay at the Perth Wildcats, but it's also the first time, as we alluded to last week, that other teams may have actually thought they've got a chance to get Luke Travers, who is still a kid. I think sometimes we forget about how young he is because he's been in a league for such a long period of time. He's only about 24, isn't he?
Younger.
He's younger than 24. Well, there you go. I've actually aged him. I apologise, Luke. So I think it's been the perfect time. I think he'll stay at the Perth Wildcats, but I think his cash has gone up. And it's his time now to actually stand up and have those conversations with John Riley and say, this is the player that I want to be and can be, and the cash will come his way.
I think that last year was a fail. He got drafted, and he did not step up last year. You saw glimpses as you saw before, but it's like, he's young. Last year should have been the coming out party for real, and he did not do that. He failed. The most intriguing name outside of Keanu is Will McDowell White. Where is he gonna land? That's the question, and you know what? He got his choice. multiple teams going to want his services.
Is there a team? Can we just put the graphic back up, please? Like, is there a team in this league that could go, hey, you know what we're going to do? We're going to go Will McDowell-White. We're going to go Bill Quall. That's going to be our starting backcourt, and we're going to build around that. 2 Australians in our starting backcourt. Because they're both available. And Bill Quall's an interesting one because he is someone that fits the league perfectly.
Oh, that's a fact.
You know what I mean? And clubs want him. I would say that all 9 other clubs would be into him. Maybe a club might go, you know what? Let's change up. Let's get these 2 guys, have them both at our starting backcourt and build some imports around it in the other positions.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so. It just depends what club has those openings for that position, right? Because I see a guy like a Bull Kawhi, he go to Melbourne United. Mm-hmm. He ain't starting.
Isn't he?
No, he ain't starting at Melbourne United.
What if they change it up a little bit?
Who would be their point guard?
Well,
let's say they go great. Let's say they snatch.
He's
Will
got to
McDowell.
start wherever he is.
Yeah,
you think so? He can't go.
That's
as
my
in,
thing.
he can't go somewhere that he's not going to start. Right?
And nor would he go. I assume.
No.
I assume he wouldn't go somewhere he wouldn't want to start.
He's
or
at
wouldn't
that
start.
level. He's at
absolutely
that level
he
now.
is.
I find it interesting. Some of these guys, I feel like it's time to cash in.
Absolutely.
And some of them, I feel like it's time to probably lean a little bit more towards a basketball decision.
Okay.
So let's talk like last year, for example. We both thought for Keanu Pender and for Bull Quall, maybe make the basketball decision for right now.
They did
Adam
that.
Ford and Cairns, and they stayed there, and it worked out. It worked out well. I think for both those guys, it's time to cash in. And
I
for
agree.
Keanu, like Joe Lawala, it might be overseas,
Hang on, so
unfortunately. Now,
just-
hold on.
Yeah, okay.
So for Bull Quall, I think you got to look, A, you got to start for sure, but B, you got to make that basketball decision, but for that money decision. But for a couple of those other guys like Will McDowell-White and Luke Travers, I still feel like if I'm McDowell-White, I think I just lean back into Modi Mayor. If he's going to stay in New Zealand, he's going to get a good chunk of change, but he's going to take less than he would get elsewhere. There's no doubt about that. And it would be a Modi Mayor type decision. If it's for Luke Travers, though, like the big money is if you can get over to the States. So he needs to make a decision, more of a basketball perspective, to say, who's going to play me as the point forward and give me opportunities to get triple doubles?
I do like the fact that they have. I think they'll both start. I think McDowell-White will be at New Zealand. I think Travers will be at Perth. I understand the basketball decision point of view, but I also think because of the fact they haven't re-signed early, they've played the game, which has helped them get more money anyway, which is exactly how this type of free agency should work,
I
right?
think Travers is out of there.
To where?
Somewhere. A bunch of teams will take him.
Absolutely,
But
every team.
I think he's done in Perth.
Yeah, okay.
I believe so.
Hashtag NBL Overtime to get involved. They're starting to fire up free agency. This time next week, we'll have graphics. There'll be people thanking other people. Thanks for your service. You played 3 games in 4 years. But there'll be some good graphics as well. Hashtag NBL Overtime. Chris Prograss, well, when it comes to free agency and putting together a championship list, he's done it twice in a row. He's going to join us next.
Digging deep. Time to go to work. Huge! And the victory lap begins. They've done it again. Back-to-back champions. The Sydney Kings sit on their throne and rule over the NBL.
That's how it all looked a couple of weeks ago. Back-to-back champions for the Sydney Kings. And a couple of years ago when I bumped into this man at Summer League in Vegas, I said, you want to come on our show? And he said, I do. And I said, well, you go back-to-back and you can make an appearance. And it's taken him 4 years as the CEO of the Sydney Kings. Just speaking of Chris Prograss, who joins us finally on NBL Overtime. Mate, you made it. Congratulations.
Thank you. I feel like, this is the pinnacle of the career, is to finally make it onto overtime. Mate, 4 years in the making and back-to-back champs. I wonder what it would have taken to finally get on.
Well, but if you get the three-peat, we'll actually move NBL Overtime to Sydney, but we'll talk about that off air. Hey, mate, I want to ask you, before I let these two loose, I want to ask you, because you win the championship on a Wednesday night, and media reports are that Thursday morning you're all back in the office. Now, there's always mayonnaise, and I put mayonnaise on a lot of stuff we do on this show, so I understand that. Were you honestly back in the office 9 a.m. after winning a title the night before?
No.
Thank
this
you.
year I tried. This year I tried to enjoy it. Good thing is about our jobs is we're on the phone constantly. So I'm not gonna lie. So there were some phone calls that morning, but no, we had a lot of media and stuff, and I avoided the office for the next couple of days.
CP, congratulations again, mate. Well done to you and the crew. We just saw some of the vision there on the play on, and you, the big smile on the face. Well, what is the feeling of satisfaction and accomplishment when the team achieves what they've done for a CEO? We see it for a player, we understand it from a coach, but what is it for you as the CEO?
A lot of emotion, to be honest. And this year, it was more relief than anything. I think I coming into this last off season, I did want to try to enjoy the season a little more. I think I wouldn't say I took for granted, but I didn't enjoy last year's championship as much as I wished. And so coming through this grand final series, I said to myself, just try and enjoy every minute, win or loss. And for me, it was more relief because the anxiety of a game 5, down 7 with 6 minutes to go, backs against the wall, you're starting to see it slip away from me. It was relief. It was a lot of pride in our group, in our organization. And, just privileged to be in the position I am and given the tools and resources around me and our amazing coaching staff and great staff and ownership group and players to be able to do it. I feel quite privileged.
Well, it's not just privilege, mate. You've earned that. And you're doing an unbelievable job as the CEO of that team.
Thank you, mate.
In terms of look at the crowds and the teams that you've put together. What would you, looking back to what you did over the off-season, and it's obviously there's years that go into a certain team build, but what would you say is like the secret to the success of this year's team build? Was there something that you did that you look back on and you think, you know what, that worked?
Honestly, and I feel like I'm beating a dead horse, but I feel like continuity, and I keep preaching it, this year more than any year, we really saw our bench who had been around together for a long time in, bench and starters, right? Xavier this was his 4th year with the team, Brucey's 4th year, Geordie's 4th year, Gus's 3rd year, DJ's 3rd year, Jalen Galloway's 3rd season with the team. And that's just off the top. There's 6 players right there who have been around the group and saw what winning was the year before. So when you talk about continuity, particularly this year when our bench was so important and losing 3 crucial imports from last year's championship team, that for me, I think set us apart from the others and bench depth and being able to have such a successful group of players that can kind of check in or take advantage of different situations like game 2 of the grand finals and, like Gus's performance in game 5. I mean, we don't win that without our bench.
Chris Prograss, I'm a fan. 4 years, what you've been able to do is just inspirational and impressive. As you know, every year this league gets tougher, and it's hard to continue to improve, and you have done exactly that. So my hat goes off to you, right? Congratulations to the organization from head to toe, what you've been able to do since you've been here, especially going back to back. And you're absolutely right. This was hard. Down 7, 5 left. Angus Glover, the hero, and you go in history books. So salute to that. Jalen Adams, you had last year, right? As we see footage of Angus, and can we ask Paul Smith, does he have any other shirt than those 2 shirts? That's what I want to know. Or is that just game day?
He has so many more. He has so many more shirts. You won't believe in how many.
Angus Glover, that was heroic. That truly was heroic and inspirational. We saw the pain as we watched the game, as he was breathing, and he breathed life back into the game and to your team. You went from 7 down to 7 up and ran with it. So salute to re-signing him. My question is, at the point guard position, you've done a remarkable job. Jalen Adams, I call him the $1 million man. What he was able to do was incredible. That's big shoes to fill. It is almost impossible to fill that quick, right? The trio's gone. How did you go about getting and finding Derek Walton Jr. And what is the process like? How do you sell? Or is it more of a conversation when recruiting these imports? Because you couldn't get more perfect than what you got out of Derek Walton Jr. Grand Final MVP. 11, like you said, player of the game vouchers. He has been remarkable all year. And when you needed him to get to that next level, he did exactly that.
Yeah, for kudos to our coaching staff as well for being able to manage these guys, because, we're lucky enough with the selections and the imports that we've been able to bring in, Casper Ware, Jalen Adams, Derek Walton. So I think how we were able to sell to Derek, but also get him to buy in, was we had our local contingent, already sorted by that stage when we were in conversations with him. So we had also re-signed Xavier Cooks, we'd re-signed DJ. We had the pieces from a local front that we wanted. So now we knew, okay, let's go identify an import point guard that complements those guys' skill set. And DJ's just a shooter and Zave's someone who's a point forward. So let's find a pass-first point guard who can still be a killer when we need him to, but he's looking to get others going. And that's exactly what Derek was. And Derek was a killer in college and, has been in his years overseas and in the G League and in the NBA. So for us, it was quite easy, but selling him on, hey, let's get you back to that next level. And that's what we do for both our imports now. Our locals is, how can we be a stepping stone to help your, career trajectory, whether that's back to the NBA or into high level Europe or staying in the NBL. And he really bought into that to say, yeah, I've seen the pathway of success that this team's been able to have. Jalen Adams, let's come down there. I'll show out. And he did. First all NBL team. He was in consideration for MVP throughout that year. Multiple players of the game. And again, we don't win that game 5 without him, the way he took over in that last quarter as well. So, Derek's fantastic. And all of our other imports were great complementary pieces in, Justin Simon in the defender he was, and Tim Suarez being able to stretch the floor again for someone like Xavier. And, he was the perfect complement to these guys' game. And I think that's really important, is not just building a team around your imports. You build it around locals, and then you complement your locals with the import fit. So we've had success, but I don't want to get ahead of myself. It's a team effort in Luke and Bogues and our ownership group, but primarily our coaching staff to be able to help get them to that next level.
CP, there's a certain irony about that, because you are so successful at having that stepping stone and helping these guys get to the next level, and replacing imports, and the 3 of them of which you did was a remarkable effort, of which you may have to do again depending on how the off-season does pan out. But you spoke about it there, basing it around your Australian contingent. We love to see Xavier Cooks into the NBA. You love to see it, but it now makes your off-season a little more harder and a bit more complicated.
It's exhausting. It's exhausting. I'm sick. I was thinking, can I have some starters that remain with the club that are not free agents or leaving me every year? I mean, that's why I think it was so important for us this offseason to get our bench locked up, extend Jalen Galloway, Angus Glover. We got Brucey, Geordie, Jackson McCoy's coming back, Quatnoy pick up his option. For us now, our starting unit with Xavier gone leaves a huge hole. And our conversations with our imports are great, but again, there's always the allure of more money and bigger lights overseas. If we can get them back, we definitely want to entertain that. But yeah, it's I don't want to have any knee-jerk reactions and just spend money for the sake of spending money on specific players. I think it needs to be methodical, process-driven signings and just not quick knee-jerk reactions to either recent success of players, and just take our time with it. So it's going to be an interesting off season, but again, it's exhausting having to get so many chase so many starters back.
My last question for you, Will Weaver, fantastic signing when you had him here, great coach. Chase Buford is literally a 1 of 1. Come in 2 of 2 in the best league in the world outside the NBA. That just don't happen, right? I love them both because, as a fellow American, these guys are characters. They talk their stuff, and they are very emotional individuals. So I love all of what's happening. What What's the recruiting process to go find these coaches? And because they've had, Will Weaver didn't win, but I mean, he came as close to winning as you possibly could in this league, and they've had success in the regular season leading up to the grand finals. What is that process like? Are you doing this by yourself? Are you like, you know what I mean? Like, I know you had history in the NBA with the Memphis Grizzlies, correct? Mm-hmm. Right. So you have relationships on the ground in America. How does it work? Right? Are people just calling you? Are you reaching out? And what is those conversations like to get these guys, these gentlemen over, who've never been a head coach over here and have come over and straight up killed it?
Yeah, it's an interesting question, Corey, and to be honest, Will and Chase have been phenomenal. Coming into a new league, moving across overseas, it's a huge challenge to be, as you would know, an American over here in a new league and try and manage those expectations, especially in a city like Sydney where it's a winning town and the expectations are quite high. So for them to be able to come in and do that, it's phenomenal. Yes, relying on my relationships overseas, but lucky enough, we've got, someone like Andrew Bogut in our ownership group, Luke Longley, who both have those connections with, different teams over there. And for us, I think that was leading on them as well, and their relationships. But it's similar to kind of the imports, right? It's when you have success with Will, for example. Chase came about organically and we got connected, and it was a great conversation that just led into this opportunity, and you kind of find each other. So you like to keep track of successful coaches as you do players overseas, but it's through introductions, people coming to you or you reaching out to them and tracking success in the NBA or the G League or internationally. And so it kind of comes about organically, but for us, it's keeping tabs on success, both players, executives, coaches overseas. I think it's important.
CP, just super quickly, mate, you mentioned Chase there. Is he going to be back? Is he going to be back for the three-peat?
That's the hope and plan. Chase is our head coach, and we're fully supportive. You win it twice, and it's hard not to expect that their NBA team's calling. So I know that those opportunities are on the cards, as with Dave, as with Didi, as with everyone else. We want him to explore that, as with Will, right? And so we never want to be someone that handcuffs someone to our team. And if those opportunities arise, we're fully supportive of him exploring them, because those opportunities don't come around often. So if that comes about, great, we're supportive of him, and then we move on to the next step and find someone else. But at this point in time, he's our guy. We're committed, and we're just thrilled about trying to build the team together.
The irony of all of that is there's NBA organizations interested in those gentlemen. I'm sure they're interested in you as well.
That's a good point.
I'm going to stop right there. Yeah. You ain't even I'm not going to put you in a position to answer that. I'm just going to stop right there.
Hey, Chris, we appreciate your time as always.
Comment.
We've got to go to a break. We appreciate it. We know the Sydney Kings watched and used this show as motivation to claim back-to-back titles because, hey, only one of us tipped us the winner, man, so I appreciate it as always.
Listen, the price is going up. They got to pay this man. The price is going up.
For him.
For you.
Going up.
Yes
they
or no?
That man.
Yes or no is next right here.
I'm well looked after. And thank you. I'm good.
Thank you, brother. NBL Overtime, plenty more next.
Thank you.
NBL Overtime, you can get involved. Hashtag NBL Overtime. Let's get into yes or no, which still hasn't got a stinger, but we'll talk about that in the off-season. All right, you ready?
Yes,
I'll start with you. Will Keanu Pinder be in the Boomers team for the World Cup?
Yes.
Would Atlanta be a nice place for Chase Buford to live?
No, Sydney would.
Okay. Will we see an all Aussie starting five in NBL 24?
No.
Do you think Ryan Brockhoff will be in Melbourne next year? Not team, just Melbourne, geographically. You think he'll live there? Yep. Would you choose... No, I'm going to go to you, actually. Would you choose...
Well, if he's living there, he's going to be on the team.
Okay. There's two teams. In the playground, would you choose Jalen Adams over Derek Walton Jr.?
Yep.
Okay. Would you have Josh Green and the Boomers over Daly?
Yes.
Okay. No stinger, but it's still an award-winning segment. NBL Overtime. We'll see you next week.